Some legendary albums are so packed with amazing songs that certain tracks get overshadowed. In this video, we'll look at the most underrated songs on iconic albums. Monster by Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's The Fame Monster was a defining moment in pop music, giving us smash hits like Bad Romance, Telephone, and Alejandro. But one of the most beloved deep cuts from the project is Monster, a synth-heavy dance track that could easily have been a massive hit. With its hypnotic production, dark lyrics, and a catchy chorus, it was Gaga in her prime. The song is built on a pulsating electronic beat with an almost horror movie-like melody. Lyrically, it compares a toxic relationship to being devoured by a monster. It has Gaga's signature theatrical sound. Despite being a fan favorite, Monster was never released as a single, an odd choice considering how well it fit into the electropop sound that defined that era. It remains one of Gaga's most requested songs for live performances, proving that it's an undeniable classic in her discography. It is still one of the most underrated tracks in her career. Clean by Taylor Swift. When Taylor Swift released 1989, she was already a global superstar, but the album cemented her as a pop icon. With massive singles like Shake It Off, Blank Space, and Bad Blood, the album became one of the best-selling records of the decade. But buried in the track list, sitting at the very end of the standard edition, was Clean, a song that remains one of the most powerful in Taylor's entire discography. Clean is a beautifully poetic song about rebirth after heartbreak. Co-produced by artist Imogen Heap, its production is atmospheric and airy. Unlike the explosive big singles from the album, Clean is subtle and introspective. The metaphor of finally feeling clean after a toxic relationship became an anthem for anyone who has gone through that. Though it was never released as a single, Clean became a fan favorite and has only grown in popularity over the years. While the singles dominated the airwaves, Clean quietly stood as the album's emotional backbone, closing the project perfectly. Ghostin by Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande's Thank You Next was a cultural phenomenon. Released during a period of intense scrutiny, it spawned multiple hits, including the title track, Seven Rings, and Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored. But Ghostin stands out as one of the most emotionally raw and vulnerable songs Ari ever released. It is a haunting ballad about pain of grieving a lost love while being in a new relationship. The song is painfully honest, acknowledging how unresolved emotions affect her new partner. The production is ethereal and dreamlike, with layered vocals that makes the song beautiful but heartbreaking. Despite being one of the most personal songs on the album, Ghostin was never pushed as a single. It was too deep to be a single. The song shows that Ariana is capable of crafting deeply moving and profound music, and Ghostin is still one of her most underrated songs ever. Too Good to Say Goodbye by Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars' 24-karat Magic is known for its bangers, like the title track, Chunky and That's What I Like, but the album closes on a somber note with Too Good to Say Goodbye, co-written with Babyface. It is a throwback to classic R&B ballads, dripping with emotion and a vocal performance that shows you that Bruno is one of the greatest vocalists of his generation. What makes the song stand out is its timeless, soulful quality. It talks about trying to salvage a crumbling relationship and feels like a lost classic from the 90s. Bruno channels the spirit of Boyz II Men and even some early Stevie Wonder influences on the song. It was never released as a single and was overshadowed by the album's more upbeat hits. However, its legacy continues as one of the most heartfelt closers in pop music, balancing the album's party hits with a slow, heartbreaking track. Freakum Dress by Beyoncé. Beyoncé's B-Day is packed with hit singles like Irreplaceable and Deja Vu, but one of his most explosive tracks, Freakum Dress, never got the spotlight it deserved. Sitting between glossy club bangers and emotional ballads on the album, it is a masterpiece that often gets overlooked. The song was tailor-made for dance floors, but remained underrated compared to the huge hits from the album. The pounding drum beats, heavy bass, and layered harmonies made it stand out, reminiscent of classic Beyoncé club anthems. The song's call and response structure made it a banger. Even though it was never released as a single, It had a music video and is still a fan favorite. When she performs it on her tours, it is one of the most electrifying moments in the setlist. If B-Day had been released today, there's no doubt the song would have been a TikTok sensation. But instead, it remains one of the most underrated gems in Beyoncé's legendary catalog. Consideration by Rihanna featuring SZA. Rihanna's Anti was a pivotal moment in her career, an album that shifted her from pop hitmaker to risk-taking artist. While it featured massive hits like Work and Needed Me, its opening track, Consideration featuring SZA, remains one of the most underrated on the project. It sets the tone for the entire album, signaling that Rihanna was no longer chasing radio hits. She was making the music she wanted to make. Lyrically, Consideration is an anthem of independence. With lines like "I got to do things my own way, darling," it makes it clear that she is no longer interested in being a manufactured pop star. The song's knocking beat creates a vibe for the whole album. SZA's feature adds an extra layer of rawness, with Rihanna's effortlessly cool vibe. Though it wasn't released as a single, Consideration remains a defining song on Anti. She even performed it at the 2016 Brit Awards, proving it had the potential to be bigger. Breathe On Me by Britney Spears. Britney Spears' In the Zone was a defining moment in her career, transitioning into a more mature sound with hits like Toxic and Me Against the Music. But a deep cut from the album Breathe On Me was an electropop masterpiece that never got the single treatment it deserved. The song's breathy vocals and sensual lyrics make it one of Britney's most underrated tracks. While Toxic dominated the airwaves for its high energy, Breathe On Me offered an almost trance-like experience that still holds up 2 decades later. The song was ahead of its time, with its ASMR-style vocal delivery, which was rare in pop music at the time. The minimalist yet atmospheric beat allows Britney's vocals to glide effortlessly over the track. Had it been released as a single, it could have easily been a club hit. Despite never being officially promoted, Breathe On Me has since gained cult status among Britney fans. She even included it in her Vegas residency, proving its longevity and impact. The song remains a hidden treasure in Britney's discography. Hummingbird Heartbeat by Katy Perry. Katy Perry's Teenage Dream was an era-defining pop album, breaking records with 5 #1 singles and cementing her as one of the biggest stars of the 2010s. But among the hit parade of California Girls, Firework, and E.T., there was Hummingbird Heartbeat, an electric love song that never got the recognition it deserved. While the album was packed with high-energy anthems, the song stood out and could have easily become the 6th #1 single. Inspired by her relationship with Russell Brand, the song is an explosion of passion. It channels rock influences, with electric guitar riffs layered over punchy pop production. The chorus makes it feel like a natural sequel to Teenage Dream, the song, but it never got the push it deserved. The song remains a fan favorite, appearing on lists of Katy's most underrated songs. It had all the makings of a hit, but instead, it is a hidden gem. Faith by The Weeknd. When people think of After Hours, they immediately go to the massive hits, Blinding Lights, Save Your Tears, and In Your Eyes. But hidden in the album's depths is Faith, an amazing song. It starts with a slow-burning synth line, and as the beat kicks in, it transforms into something darker, a chaotic spiral of addiction and self-destruction. It is one of the most cinematic moments on After Hours, but it never got the mainstream recognition it deserved. Lyrically, Faith is about his struggles with substance abuse. That has been a huge part of The Weeknd's album since the start of his career. If I OD, I want you to OD right beside me. Paint a dark picture of codependency. By the time the sirens fade out at the end, it feels like you've just lived through the breakdown with him. Despite its brilliance, Faith was never released as a single, and its impact was overshadowed by the more radio-friendly tracks on the album. But among die-hard fans, it remains one of the most powerful songs The Weeknd has ever written, and is still one of the most underrated songs in his discography. Baby Be Mine by Michael Jackson. When people talk about Thriller, they usually mention the album's classic singles like Beat It, Thriller, and Billie Jean. But sitting second on the track list is Baby Be Mine, a banger that never gets the credit it deserves. It is one of only 2 songs on Thriller that was never released as a single, but yet it perfectly showcases MJ's vocal brilliance and Quincy Jones's masterful production. Built around a groovy bass line, Baby Be Mine is more influenced by late 70s funk and disco. The song is pure joy, making it perfect for the early leg of the album. The fact that it was never pushed as a single is shocking, considering Thriller became the best-selling album of all time and spawned 7 hit singles. It's wild that it never got its moment. While it remains a hidden gem on the most popular album of all time, casual listeners often overlook it, which is a crime, considering it's one of Michael's most effortlessly groovy tracks. Which underrated songs on iconic albums did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.